very disappointed that they didn't show up.
I was telling Danny and Catherine about that panel, that we did a multi-winter coat version of the Ted Lasso costume. So it was quite hot that day, because I remember it was really fun. So thank you all for having us. Sorry, we did not miss some of the Ted Lasso characters today. But, that panel back there was a lot of fun. And we talked a lot about the same things we're going to talk about today with regard to this Kansas City soccer capital of America these days and what we got coming forward with it. So, you guys not hear me? Is that better?
Yes.
All right. So, with all that, I'm going to let Danny and Catherine introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Walniak. I'm the Vice President of Communications for the Kansas City Current. I've been with the team for about 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in June. I made the transition from broadcast journalism to this position. I was the sports director over at KCTV5 here in Kansas City for about 6.5 years prior to this, and could not turn down the opportunity to be a part of the KC Current and the first stadium purpose-built for a women's professional team in the world. So, did that about 2 years ago, have loved every second of it, and I joke with people that I had gone from the offensive to defensive side of things, and potentially now I'm on the light side, I was on the dark side. And the light side is much nicer, I will say that, it is very great. But I have a background in, I played women's professional football in Dallas for 5 seasons and 4 years. I will boast on myself just a little bit. I was Rookie of the Year in 2007, a gold medalist in 2010, and was blessed enough to be a part of the women's Super Bowl championship team in 2008. I'm proud of those Super Bowl ring around, and hopefully someday I can also put an NWSL championship ring. So with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. I see that in your future, Danny.
Thank you.
Obviously, the Current is very, very lucky to have you. I'm excited to get to see you a little bit more often. I'm Catherine Mullen. I am Managing Director of KC 2026, which is the nonprofit entity that has been formed to manage and plan and execute the FIFA World Cup in 2026, which is getting closer by its day, and I'm painfully aware of that, and almost counting hours. Anyway, so I, born and raised in Kansas City, I left for a few years, spent about 12 years in New York City working in sports and entertainment sponsorship marketing, and then I was in San Francisco on the West Coast for a few years, similar field, working for Visa, helping build a card product that was really rooted in benefits tied to sports and entertainment and travel. I truthfully was trying to get back to New York, but my parents, and specifically my mom, who reminds me of this every day, in 2015 sort of said, Kansas City is a very different place than when you left to go to college, you know, I'm not going to say what year, but it was a while ago. And you should really contemplate, you know, coming back and checking it out. And so I had the opportunity to meet Kathy Nelson, President and CEO of the Kansas City Sports Commission, and visit KC, as well as Brandon Tinnen, who's the former general manager of Sprint Center, obviously now T-Mobile Center. And they presented me with this really incredible opportunity to be executive director of the 2017 U.S. Figure Skating Championships when they were hosted here in Kansas City. So in my mind, that was like the perfect year-long project to be back in Kansas City as an adult, reconnect with some people, and see if it's a place I wanted to stay. I'm here, so it worked out, and I was lucky to be able to stay on with the Sports Commission after that project. I helped manage the NFL draft bid, I helped manage a number of our NCAA bids for collegiate national championships, and then moved full-time into managing the FIFA World Cup bid in October of 2021, actually September of 2021, when the deliverables and the amount of information we had to get to FIFA was really heating up, and we had to prep for the final site visit in October of 2021, which was really, I think, a deciding factor for FIFA as to whether or not they would give Kansas City the opportunity to play host in 2026. And then I moved into this role of continuing to manage the project on a day-to-day basis, and it has been an absolute dream job and an opportunity that I could have never anticipated, especially having spent a lot of my professional time on both coasts, coming back to my hometown of Kansas City and having the opportunity to work on this massive project that is going to have such a major impact on our region is just an incredible opportunity. And some days are harder than others, but most days I'm really excited to be in this position.
Well, thank you both for being here. I think we're going to start with a few videos. Do I advance the videos, or do you start those? All right. There's the introductions. And
Stretch out, limber up, and get ready. Because soccer isn't just played here, it's lived. On every team, on every field, in every crowd. It's not just a game to us. It brings us together, cranks up our volume, and gives us another reason to celebrate. That's why Kansas City is the soccer capital of America. That shared energy, that fire, that purpose also fuels our city and our region. The center of the country is now the center of attention. Inclusive, accessible, a city full of good people doing great things. And the kind of pride you can see, hear, and feel, because we all know it's been earned. So when the whole globe is watching, let's open their eyes even wider to not only the best of the beautiful game, but also the heart of America. Because the world's biggest sporting event deserves the right stage. Right here, right now. Kansas City, here we come.
Just for some context, that was a video that we played to kick off the final meeting with FIFA when they were in town in October.
You can't talk about the current without a pump up.
First of all, we are very much going to invest in and elevate this the way it should be done.
The home of the Current, the first stadium built for a professional women's team in the world.
This is home. This is CPKC Stadium.
The nicest sports facility in Missouri, or Kansas, or America is right here for the Kansas City Current.
For me, I wanted something different, like create something that has never been done before.
Finally, it feels like everything is falling into place, not just for ourselves, but for all the fans that continue to show up for us over these years.
And just so everyone is aware, we're going to do the Casey Baby Chant before this is all done. We always do.
So every project we have, Casey,
Exactly. It just motivates you to keep pushing forward. So just everyone be mentally prepared. That's happening at some point today.
Practice in your heads right now.
Well, I think everyone knows why we're here. I mean, the incredible excitement that's been surrounding the KC Current, the new CPKC Stadium that Danny spoke of, and then the small thing that Catherine has her hands busy with the 2026 World Cup. And, you know, all of this momentum has actually been a lot to many of us in this room in this design and construction community. I mean, it starts with the airport, right? That helped secure the bid for the World Cup coming up. Then there's the state-of-the-art Casey Current training facility, the new stadium, and just how that complements everything sporting has done over in Wyandotte. And then finally, you know, there's going to be some modifications to the Arrowhead that are underway right now in preparation for the 2026 World Cup. And I think everyone has a lot of high expectations that the 6-7 quarter lid will get started or even be partially complete in time for the World Cup as well. So the momentum around soccer here in Kansas City has just been amazing over the last, call it 5 to 10 years with regards to the soccer capital of America. So what better to have here today to talk about those two things than Danny and Catherine. So with that, let's start with you, Catherine. In your opinion, how did this happen? I mean, how did Kansas City figure this out and become the soccer capital of America?
Great question, Scott. I think a little known fact that the last time that the World Cup was hosted in the United States was in 1994. And the legacy project that came out of that event was the creation of Major League Soccer in the United States. So if you can believe that, like Major League Soccer did not exist in this country prior to the 1994 World Cup. And one of the real forces around that was Lamar. And the Hunt family has been very involved, obviously not only on the football side, but on the soccer side. When Lamar built Arrowhead, he said he had 2 dreams. One was to host a World Cup, and one was to host a Super Bowl. So I'm really proud that we at least get to give him him and his family one in the near future. But I mean, I think it goes as far back as that, as this community investing in soccer early on, in the Comets, and then that becoming the Wizards, and obviously Sporting, and then the Currents, sort of rise on the global stage and helping define Kansas City as the soccer capital of America. And I also think it can't be discounted. It probably wouldn't even be in this position if it weren't for a lot of the work that, as Scott mentioned, you all probably be involved with, which is just the general revitalization of Kansas City, and particularly the revitalization of downtown. H&R Block moving down there, T-Mobile Center, sort of really the streetcar, and Scott mentioned the airport. He's absolutely right. If we did not have our new airport, we would not be a World Cup host city, no holds barred. So I think that it's been longer actually than 5 to 10 years. It's been reflective of what the leaders in this community sort of been investing in for some time, and then we just sort of kept capitalizing on it, particularly as it relates to soccer. And a lot of that credit to the early ownership groups of Commons and Sporting, and then Angie and Chris and their teams, and having this vision after attending a Women's World Cup in France for how to elevate, continue to elevate soccer with a focus on delivering in a bigger way for women. So I think that it was both sort of calculated and planned, and also just kind of right place, right time, and the thought leadership of people who knew that this was an opportunity to continue to help us grow our city, and drive new business and attract new talent to just continue to make sure that Kansas City does maintain what is now our sort of new position on the global stage.
So Danny, it's kind of a follow-up question. I mean, the excitement around the Casey Current is kind of really incredible. I mean, I was telling her a story just a minute ago. I was at the Sporting match on Sunday. My daughters leaned over and said, "Man, the Casey Current matches were so much fun." So the excitement around that has just been incredible for not only my 2 daughters, but all women professional athletes. How did the momentum of the Casey Current, how is that helping you just build on Kansas City being the soccer capital of America?
Well, I think it's a huge part of us being the soccer capital of America, but I also think it's a big testament to the fan base, the fan support here in Kansas City. Because I joke with people that here in Kansas City, we don't have mountains to climb, and we don't have oceans to go surf. So instead, we spend our free time going to sporting events. And we are very, very passionate about our sports teams. And so when the Casey Current came on the scene as Casey and WSL, a lot of people asked the question, will you be able to sustain? Will you be able to be here long term? And then the idea of a stadium came up, and Chris and Angie were so passionate about that. And the idea of an 11,500 person stadium and filling that was almost a joke. And people gave them, a hard time about it. And now, looking back, now that the stadium's built, now that we've sold out season ticket membership all season long, and people are clamoring to get tickets, the question is now, when do you expand? Is it big enough? And so it's such a testament to the fans here, to the momentum that is happening in women's sports. We are part of that wave, which I think is really cool. I mean, you guys have seen it with the NCAA tournament just recently. And women's soccer is growing exponentially. And so to ride that wave of momentum, and to be the Kansas City Current, and to see the teal seats, and to see the fans come out every match day it's been to now, in their teal, and the city really rallying around that, I think is really, really powerful. And it starts with a vision. It starts with that vision of the ownership group with Angie and Chris Long and Brittany and Patrick Mahomes, and their attention to detail in everything that they do, and the fact that they want it to be world class. They don't want it to just be a stadium. They want it to be an amazing fan experience, an incredible player experience. They want everybody to want more and to enjoy it. So like your daughter saying, hey, this experience is more fun than sporting. No offense to sporting, but that's the goal. That's the hope and the dream, is that people are talking about soccer in the U.S. and internationally, about the NWSL in that capacity. And so we will keep building on that. We will keep being better. And so when people look at Kansas City, we want them to think of the Current, and we want them to think of soccer.
Catherine, a little over 2 years away, 2026 World Cup. Remind everybody what's coming to Kansas City, the matches, and what have you been doing the last 3 months? What's keeping you busy?
Yes, so yes, World Cup is coming in 2026. The match schedule, which was just released maybe 2 months ago at this point, was really critical for us and for all the other cities. It's really hard to dig into planning transportation and safety and security and marketing and things like that if we don't know what we have. And so when the match schedule was announced and Kansas City, the smallest host city in 2026, got 6 matches, including a very coveted quarterfinal match. So Kansas City is hosting the quarterfinal match on July 11th alongside Boston, Miami, and Dallas. And we were really hopeful, and I knew that I think FIFA very much appreciated the way that we're managing this project, and obviously, as I mentioned in the first question, sort of the history of soccer in Kansas City. So I was really hopeful that we would have matches far into the tournament. The best that we could hope for, because of the size of Arrowhead, was a quarterfinal. So to sort of have that be our crowning achievement during this process is absolutely incredible. It's harder to sort of describe what people should expect in 2026. This is the largest sporting event in the world that's hosted every 4 years. However, 2026 will be very different, and FIFA themselves are calling this the largest sporting event in the history of the world. Their words, not mine, but I will use that and try and impress upon people sort of what is coming. It's the first time that FIFA has ever hosted a tournament across multiple countries. So it's going to be hosted in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, 2 host cities in Canada, 11 in the United States, 3 in Mexico. So obviously that comes with some cross-border challenges that we're all navigating. But I mean, we can expect, I don't want to give a specific number because some of it will be dependent upon the countries that we end up hosting from a team-based camp perspective, but also for matches. But suffice it to say, this will be the largest event that we'll ever host in our region. And there's a lot of preparation that needs to be done to make sure that we are ready to welcome people from all over the world. Not even just all over the world, but all over the United States. I think we sort of speak about this as an international event to drive some anticipation of how many international travelers will come to Kansas City. But I think we also really need to be prepared for domestic travelers who are curious about our market now because they've seen how much we've sort of grown and exploded over the past decade, and now they have a real excuse. I'll Airbnb my house in LA, and I'll come to Kansas City to check out the World Cup. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into that, and sort of training, hotel and hospitality workers of what to expect. There's some infrastructure improvements that need to be made. However, those infrastructure improvements, while they will deliver for the 2026 World Cup, have to deliver well beyond that. We are not investing money into any projects that will not deliver well for our communities well beyond 2026. We're using 2026 as sort of a catalyst to expedite some of those projects, including some projects that require some federal funding. But again, there is not a dollar that will be invested in this event that is not going to deliver well beyond just mounting what we have to sort of deliver as it relates to our contractual obligations for FIFA. I can talk a little bit about team-based camps, which obviously the Kansas City Currents new training facility will is one of the premium base camp opportunities for countries to take advantage of. FIFA's calling our region the team-based camp mecca of 2026 because of our central location and the high-quality facilities that we have to offer. Team-based camps are sort of really what they sound like. It's a team will come over and they will train at a base camp location. They will stay at an area hotel, and then they will travel in and out of Kansas City to wherever they are competing over the course of the tournament. So our goal is obviously to really appeal to some of the major soccer powerhouse countries. Let's use Germany for an example. The German fan base it's incredibly robust and supportive of their national team. People save money for 4 years, take the entire 40+ days off, and will travel over to the United States, Canada, and Mexico for those 40 days and follow their team wherever they may be. That also means that they will stay adjacent to where their team is staying and training. So, let's say that they choose the Kansas City Currents training facility in Riverside, there could be tens of thousands of German fans that come over and want to live adjacent to Riverside to be close to their team and to follow their team wherever they may compete. So we've done some early economic impact numbers, and we think that we can generate a minimum of about $630 million in incremental economic impact for this event. That does not even contemplate potential benefit from team-based camps, from hosting teams for the 45, 50 days that they will be over here for the tournament. So team-based camps are a huge opportunity. We are very lucky that the ownership groups of the Current and Sporting have invested in the way that they have in these training facilities, because they have elevated Kansas City and our region in a way that is just incredibly advantageous for us, particularly as it comes to this event.
I think my boss is in the room, I'm taking 40 days off. 26 as well. I'm going to get over Germans. Danny, our group was extremely proud to be part of the CPKC Stadium for a year and a half. Obviously spent some time over there lately. What are some of the aspects of that stadium that come to your mind when someone asks you about the new stadium? And if someone hasn't been there yet, what's the first thing that you're going to see?
It's such a loaded question because, yes, I have lived over there for the past 3 or 4 months. Finally got some sleep for the first time last week, so bless all of us. But it all turned out great. I think a couple of my favorite pieces of the stadium have to be the undulated roof, which is designed in a way to represent the iconic Missouri River, but also to siphon sound back onto the pitch. One of the big goals of Angie Long, Chris Long, and Brittany Holmes was that they wanted this to be an atmosphere that resembled almost a smaller Arrowhead. They wanted it to be loud, they wanted it to be rowdy and crazy and intimidating for opposing teams when they come in, that they're not coming in saying, oh, I can't wait to play at CPKC Stadium. They don't want them to come here. They want it to be very difficult. So from that fan experience, that's fun. And we've experienced it the first 2 games, which it has been loud and fantastic with all of the goals that have been scored. I also think a big part of the stadium that you won't be able to see, that is my favorite part of it, is the locker room. And we can dive into this when we talk about the training facility and all of that, but I don't know if any of you guys in here really know the history of the NWSL is that all of these teams play in men's stadiums. And the men's stadiums and those teams don't allow the women's teams to use the home locker room. They're utilizing the visitor locker room, the auxiliary locker rooms in all of these stadiums. The men's locker room's off limits. So when the team got the opportunity the week before the game to go into their own locker room and see it for the first time, it was like this mix of emotion. Like some players were crying, some players were excited about it because it's something so new and so different. And it's beautiful because it's their home. And one of the things that went into the detail and design of it is that the logo is actually on the roof. It's not on the floor, like in most venues, so that you have to navigate around the logo because there's superstitions and stuff around logos, and not stepping on the logo. So in order for that space to be more theirs and to not be superstitious, they put the logo on the roof. So it's black and white and lit with some teal lighting, and it's so modern and state of the art. So that is probably my favorite part of the stadium. Also, when the players went in for the first time, Amy French, who's our goalkeeper, has a daughter who's 2.5. And she understood the gravity of that situation so much that she brought Marty with her to go into the locker room for the first time. So that she could experience, not gonna get worked out, I promise. So that she could experience that next generation. Like, Kamari will never know anything other than her mom playing in her own stadium. And I think that's really, really cool to see how the generations are shifting. And to that point, I'm just going to keep going, because apparently I think the whole stadium is amazing. But there's also, Title IX is inscribed on the wall of the locker room as the players are exiting. And it's really special because it's not, the words of Title IX are on the wall, but the actual title and what it is are not on the wall. For the specific purpose of people in the pitch club having to ask what those words are and how they mean. And I think that also is a tribute to how far we've come, that we can literally put that on the wall as the players are walking out. And having to explain to the next generation or even people who are at the stadium the gravity that we would not be here without Title IX is very, very powerful. So I will admit that I did get choked up on camera having to talk about that the day before. So not one of my proud moments, but it just is, as a former athlete, that means so much to me to know that something as simple as words can change the whole spectrum of how we approach women's sports and how we approach sports across the globe. So I literally could go on and on, so I apologize to both of you, but those are probably my 3 favorite parts of the stadium.
It's funny you said the Title IX. We did not script this at all. That's my actually favorite stadium as well. We actually have nothing to do with that. It's the graphic stuff that you all did, but just the gravity. And for those that haven't seen it, it's this simple white wall. Not a lot of fanfare too, and then it's just black letters put on the wall with the verbiage that Danny just described. It is my favorite part of the stadium as well. The other part you mentioned about just the loudness, the noise that's created there. For those that don't know, there are 2 different types of bleacher systems used at the stadium. So on the east and the west side, there's a aluminum system that's infilled with rubber tires to dampen the sound. However, on the supporter section, underneath that unlaid roof, we did not put in the rubber tires, et cetera, to dampen that sound so that noise would carry throughout the stadium. So that was done on purpose with regard to that supporter section. So it's funny you mentioned that. So
It's very powerful, and it's so simple, and I think that's part of it.
So sticking with you, Danny, obviously the Kansas City Current is extremely involved in the community. As well as just the NWSL as a whole. So can you explain to us how the KC Current is approached to that?
Yeah, and this is probably a better question for our community relations team. Ben Egan and DePriest Taylor are phenomenal human beings who have been a part of the sports community scene for years, been for decades. But it's a big part of who we are at the Kansas City Current, and every decision that we make runs through that filter. So our pillars are, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and being able to lean into that as a part of the decisions that we make, whether it's, female-owned businesses that are a part of the stadium, or minority-owned businesses that are part of the construction or design team. And that area down on the riverfront was an area that needed to be revitalized. And I think that most of you guys have the background context of what that was. It was basically a dumping ground for a while. And so to be able to come in with the idea of sustainability at the forefront, of it being downtown, of making it an area where people can call home and go there for community events or activations. We want the plaza, the CPKC Plaza and the Hillsburg Diamonds main gate. We want that area to just be buzzing. We want people to come and have farmers markets, and we want that community around the stadium to be uplifted and to feel like they are really part of it. But that's just a small part of everything that we do in the community. I was just out at a YMCA Challenger event last night, and all of the YMCA kids and the special needs soccer players, all of their teams have shirts that are branded with the KC Current logo. And to see the players go out there and really want to be a part of stuff like that is really powerful. You see it in men's sports. Players and teams are involved in the community, but it is just a different level, I think, with women's sports, at least in my experiences. And so to see just like Claire Hutton, who's one of our 18-year-old players, come in and be like, I want to do things with underprivileged moms, and I want to help out with special needs. Like, we have players who are so involved and invested when they come in, even if they're not from Kansas City, that makes our job a lot easier, and it also kind of shows the power of what a professional team can do. And so, from the players to the stadium to the designs of the building to the riverfront, I mean, there are so many different aspects that we are involved in the community, and we take great pride in that, while also understanding the pressure and the gravity that comes with being a professional team and wanting to make our community better and impact people through our platform and the capabilities that we have.
After sticking with the community theme, how can we as a community help you with
helping impress upon people, again, the size and scope of what the 2026 FIFA World Cup will look like. Obviously KC 2026 is responsible for managing stadium modifications and planning the official FIFA Fan Fest. But we've always had this vision that communities and Fan Fest will honestly likely be in Kansas City, Missouri, but we've always had this vision that communities in and around the region, because the bid was very much about uniting the entire Midwest. The matches are happening in Kansas City. However, we are the only host city in the Midwest, so we expect to draw from all over the region, and very much by state funding effort from a public funding standpoint. But I think we are very hopeful that communities really get together and sort of contemplate how they can capitalize on this event as well. Whether it's, we want to draw people to this particular attraction, or we want to have our own localized watch party, in a community area, whether it's downtown Overland Park or next to City Center or Independence Square. How can the communities come together to help support this event? And we'll have the opportunity for those communities to liaison with KC 2026. We unfortunately just don't have the budget to be able to underwrite the cost to produce all of those ancillary watch party events and special farmers markets and things like that. So we want to be able to be engaged in how we drive people to throughout the region. Yes, we want them to check out Fan Fest. Yes, if they want to attend a match, great. They're going to be here for many days, and so we need to provide great opportunities for them to experience our entire region. So I really encourage you all to sort of engage with your community leaders and sort of think about how you may want to showcase what's happening in your neighborhood or in your surrounding municipality, and then how can we work together to help bring that vision to life, because it will take an incredible amount of collaboration and effort across the board to deliver what we know we can deliver as it relates to what we want people to walk away from their experience around the World Cup in Kansas City with, right? We want them to be really ready to come back. We want to give them, an incredible, we want to showcase our hospitality that we're known for, give them a different perspective of the Midwest, but also leave them wanting more, because that long-term potential economic impact is, again, well beyond 2026. So come experience the World Cup, experience some things around the region, leave, go tell people what a great time you had, and plan a trip, to come back. And that's going to take a lot of collaboration with all of our neighborhoods and all of our communities. So I think just understanding how big this is and what a big opportunity is, we know it's coming, right? So we know it's coming. It's just that, KC 2026, we are focused on some contractual obligations. We cannot do it all, and we need community support to help bring everything to life in the way that we know we can.
So quickly running out of time. So Danny, I'll give you the last question. You mentioned your background as a former Dallas Diamond, which I still think fascinating.
I'll show you the highlight reels sometime.
I find it very, very fascinating.
So being a woman professional athlete, how has it been for you kind of coming full circle to where you're at now with the Casey Curve?
As you guys can tell, I'm very passionate about my job. My job is also my hobby. And seeing it come full circle, I did take a moment. Obviously, when you're in the mix of everything and you're running around like a crazy person and trying to open a stadium without any sleep and making sure that everything is perfect, it's hard to really soak in those moments. But I did force, I'm not going to say his name, but I did force my partner in crime, my coworker, to take a minute after the game. And usually the PR team is the one who's there the latest, besides the people who are cleaning up and housekeeping. And I did make him walk out onto the pitch with me afterwards, so hopefully this isn't being recorded. Okay, great. I did have him walk out onto the pitch with me, and we took 30 seconds to just take it all in and look around and take a breath. Because what we had done and what we are doing has never been done before. And it is being done right here in our own backyard in Kansas City. For a stadium to be filled with 11,500 people cheering on a women's professional team. When I first got into sports, did not even think to see and be a part of this moment in time. I hope you all can take a minute to take a step back and realize how incredible this moment in time is, not only for women's sports, but for Kansas City. And to just realize that my grandma not even thought that women could play professionally. My mom, college scholarships finally were an option. For me, I got to play women's professional football, but it was never going to be a full-time job. And the conversations I had, you were never going to make a living. You better have an option after college because that's not what women do. And now to be working in an industry where it is just about women's sports and women being on the pitch and having your own training facility and having your own stadium and my daughter knowing nothing other than women having their own things and fighting for equality the same way from a viewership standpoint on television to butts in the seats. Whew. It's something that I don't think I will ever be able to put into words, but I at least can say that this is a moment in time that is not just a moment, and it's going to be a moment. And I can't wait to see what happens next.
I didn't start on the pitch.
I don't think I was supposed to, but it's something.
Well, I mean, your answer was extremely powerful. I mean, we all just experienced March Madness, and I couldn't. I'm the biggest collegiate basketball fan there probably is known as man, and I probably watched more women's games this year than I actually did the men's, which was, my daughter's mom. So to be able to do that was just kind of been. So with that, I think we're out of time. I want to thank both of you very, very much for taking time out of your day and being with us today. And how about we give them a big round of applause?
We have to say the Casey Baby chant together. She prepped you guys. I did. I mentally prepped for this. So, and just real quick, so the Casey Baby philosophy was actually indoctrinated by Lola Bonta. And it just came out of nowhere because they needed some way to break down the chants, to break down practice. So it just came forth from her face. And so that has actually become more of a philosophy for us. And the Casey Baby chant is different for every person and every individual. So there are some people like Lola Bonta and Desiree Scott who will say Casey Baby in their own way, like, Casey Baby! And they will get up in it. But it's okay if you're a Casey Baby person. So don't, lean into your own Casey Baby any way you want to, how you want to. But I'm going to count down, I'm going to count up, I'm going to count to 3, and we have to say Casey Baby all together at the same time. Can we do that? Okay, ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Casey Baby!